Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the weekly Levinson and Associates training webinar series. Here we are, Thursday now, May 13th, right? Almost halfway through the month. And we are moving right along, in my opinion, to the best place that we've been in the last year and a half, right? As far as this pandemic goes, as far as we're seeing a lot of new underwriting improvements at the carrier level, which is a plus. I just feel like we're getting towards the end of this whole COVID-19 pandemic, and it's, yes, a horrible, horrible time. But I always try to look at the glass, half full, half empty. And, if there's one good thing, because there's not many, as we know, but if there's one good thing, right, look at this life experience. Like, what a way to open your eyes and appreciate, that you have a great family and friends and that you're healthy, thank God. And, I just feel like it makes you appreciate the good times. And I don't think we'll ever forget what we all just went through in the entire world and what we're still kind of going through, but I feel like it's getting much better. So anyway, long story short, being a life insurance agent, right, if there's one shining star here, we have seen underwriting and technology changes in our industry, okay? In the last 18 months, we're seeing more improvements than we've seen in 18 years, literally. So this is a good thing. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's say 2-3 years ago, okay? If you looked at, let's say, drop tickets, e-apps, non-med products, right? Selling over the phone, voice sign, e-sign, I would say maybe 30 to 40% of the carriers were up to speed. Let's say 3 years ago, okay? Fast forward to today, it's like 95% of the carriers have some kind of e-app where you can sell over the phone. You don't have to see the client face to face. So they knew, right? And by the way, we have one of our core carriers on the phone, and she knows how I feel, and I know she agrees. But what's amazing is the carriers knew that, hey, if we don't get on the bandwagon here, right, we are going to lose a ton of business by the day because agents cannot see clients face to face right now, right? So we better change. I remember, and I don't mean to mention names, but Forrester's had a final expense product where you could not write the application unless you were face to face with the client, which is just absurd in this day and age, right? It's just nuts. So the carriers knew they had to make changes. They did exactly that, right? Because they knew they don't have any time to waste. They spent a fortune with programming and technology, and some even added some new products. They've did away with a few products. But, like it or not, we have seen some huge advancements. And now here we are coming out of this pandemic, right? And we have the best technology, and life insurance is easier to sell than ever, right? I mean, think about it. If a carrier came out with an e-app, a drop ticket, and they said, hey, we're going to do non-med to 2 million, no exam needed, they're not going to, when the pandemic's over, they're not going to say, oh, you know what, now we're going to take the 2 million and reduce it to 100,000. No, they already made the change, and that's how it's going to be moving forward. So as a life insurance agent, there's no better time. There's no easier way to sell insurance, period. And think about this, another shining star, look at all these families, right? Nobody knew this was coming 2-3 years ago. They didn't say, oh my gosh, we're going to have this horrible virus, right? And we're going to lose all these lives. And nobody knew about this, okay? So what it did, it made life insurance top of mind. So I don't care what family it is. If there's, 2 little kids and the parents, and they're sitting around the dinner table, right, having dinner, and they're in the middle of this pandemic, like it or not, the kids, the spouse, the breadwinner, whatever, are saying, oh my gosh, if I pass on and I get COVID, are we going to be okay, right? Or is mommy going to be okay? Is daddy going to be okay? Or are these 2 kids going to be able to go to college, right? And be able to resume living a somewhat normal life. So life insurance is top of mind, like it or not, and there's no better time to be in the insurance industry. Okay, so I'll tell you what, I mean, if I was an agent out there, obviously we're in the business, now 50 years, Levinson and Associates, but if I was an agent out there, I would be, right now we have the best lead programs I've ever seen in history, right? There's no secret to that. That's because homes are being sold more than ever at a record rate, right? So a ton of mortgages are being issued out there. What does that mean? Mortgage protection, new leads, right? The market's getting saturated for new leads, lower prices, and again, more opportunities for our agents. We're going to be launching a new lead program, $3 for a lead, and they're, let's see, 5 days to 30 days old. You're going to hear about this in the next couple of weeks, but what a great opportunity. I'm very excited, and enough of my ranting. But anyway, I just wanted to draw that conclusion. I think it's so important for everyone. So we have term insurance now. Okay, the featured company we are speaking about today is Pacific Life. And Carlin, our VP, is joining us. And they have an unbelievable program, A+ rated. They have non-med term to $2 million. We are the first IMO to roll out this new upgraded platform. So they're making these big changes on Monday. So we're the first IMO to talk about this. So I hope your contracting is in and you are ready to write. So think about this for a minute. Up to $2 million, no exam, ages 18 to 60. And when most carriers are saying, oh, you got to be preferred or better, if there's a red spot on your arm, forget it. You're standard and we need blood and urine. No, Pacific Life, standard to preferred best, all no exam. So, and on their drop ticket platform, which is very easy to sell. Anyway, I don't want to steal any of Carlin's thunder. We're going to have her on in about 5 minutes here, and she's going to dive into all of the new updates. It's very, very exciting. Also, by the way, you're going to hear about some of our other niche term products, okay, that we even have one platform that goes up to 7.5 million. We have our new direct-to-consumer term product that's instant issue and approval up to 2 million. That is part of and integrated to the Insure Me Now Direct platform, okay, which is also amazing. So the point is, we have you covered. It doesn't matter what end of the spectrum your client fits into. We have a product. Now, obviously, we're going to lead with Pacific Life because of their pricing and their ratings, and our relationship with Pac Life is stellar, and we always want to make sure that we're a big whale with, no pun intended, with Pacific Life. Okay, we're not spreading ourselves too thin. So obviously, Pacific Life is the name of the game, but it's important for us to share everything else that's available when it doesn't fit inside Pacific Life's umbrella. Okay, that's simple. Okay, we're also going to talk about living benefits. We're going to do our cash for contracting incentive. We're going to do our question of the day at the end, which gives everyone a chance to win. Plus, you write one application. Okay, in the month of May, you win $50 gift card. One app. It's our 50th anniversary, so we're doing very easy, right? You write an app, we send you an Amazon $50 gift card. So everybody's a winner, okay? And you can win the Amazon Echo at the end if you stay on and you answer the question correctly in your first. You win. So you can win twice. And cash for contracting, okay? Very simple. If you're with another IMO with Pac Life, transfer over to Levinson. We match, or most of the time beat, your commission. You get $100 cash with your first app. You get $150 if you move a second carrier, first app, $250 third carrier, a first app with the third carrier. So a total of $500 cash. Okay, so just make sure you're taking down notes. Okay, I want everybody to be a winner after today's presentation. All right, Andrew, let's jump right in. So I'm going to start off on the left side. So real quick, this is the first and only 100% direct-to-consumer non-med term product to $2 million that is integrated into our exclusive Insure Me Now Direct platform. What does that mean, Bill? Okay, you're an agent out there. Think Amazon, okay? What this allows you to do as a life insurance agent with Levinson is have your own Amazon website up and running where your consumers, prospects, can go, they can run quotes from 5 different insurance companies. They can apply online, get an instant online decision, print and save their policy all within 10 minutes, and you just made a full commission, okay? So in the past, you'd say to yourself, Bill, this sounds great, but the product is so expensive. You know, my clients aren't going to go for this. It doesn't matter how easy it is, okay? And I get it, okay? The problem is 5 years ago, we didn't have much of a choice because the carrier's technology was not up to par, okay? We know how that works. I said it in the beginning. I'm saying it again. It's a different world now, okay? So now you, being the agent, okay, can allow your client to go on your site, run a quote up to $2 million, and the premiums are as good as a traditional fully underwritten term carrier, okay? So that is a win-win, plus free scholarship for your client with all of our products on Insure Me Now Direct, except dental vision, okay? We have a self-enroll button on the site. They can do all of this at 2 a.m. We know these young millennials, right? The X gen, Y gen, whatever gen, right? They like to go online and at 2 a.m. when the kids are sleeping, they can run their quotes. They can purchase insurance. You wake up at 7 a.m. and see you had an approved policy, commissions being paid within a week, okay? That's the ultimate sell while you sleep platform. That is now a reality. It was a dream 7 years ago, and the carriers laughed at me and they said, Bill, you're out of your mind. There's no way we're going to be able to write a policy without any agent involvement. Here we are today, 7 years later, 5 carriers, over 15 products, and the dream became a reality. And it's so exciting, folks. And I'm telling you, this is not fluff. If you know me, I've been talking about this for the last 7 to 10 years now. So anyway, enough of my ranting. Again, bottom left corner, this was a LinkedIn comment. I know he's actually on the line right now, Daniel, one of our agents. I wanted to share this with everyone. Hey, Bill, I'm a new rep with Levinson. I've been totally impressed with your organization. I wish I would have found you 10 years ago. Thank you. Okay, not asking for, hey, I want my $100 gift card. No, he just wanted to share this on the LinkedIn community. Okay, Daniel, thank you. That means the world to us. Okay, we have 22 employees. We all work very hard. And when we see this, it makes our day, our week, our year. We love to hear from our agents. Okay, and speaking of hearing from our agents, use that question box as we go. It should be on the right-hand side. We want to hear from you, good, bad, and different, about this training, questions on the product, Pack Life. If you have a question for Carlin, we have a closed line, but use that question box, and we'll make sure every single one is answered today, okay? Some in real time, some when we hang up the phone, but everybody will get an answer. Okay, on the right side, it's our 50th anniversary. Like I said, everyone gets a $50 Amazon gift card just by writing an app this month. I don't mean place it, write it, obviously. If you can place it, great. But even if it places next week, next month, no problem. As soon as it goes in force, $50 Amazon gift card. We have a coupon email me form we're going to send out to everybody on the call today, and our thank you for attending webinar email. Okay, bottom right corner. This is our new final expense and term life lead program, right? You've never heard of traditional term life leads, okay? That's literally unheard of. These are $12 to $17, okay, exclusive, and look at the yellow star, 20% sales guarantee, okay? You have never seen that before at these prices. No way, I promise you. If you have, send it to me and I'll give you a $50 Amazon gift card if there's something legit that's better than this program. There is no way, and I'm going on record by saying that. Andrew, let's move into the next slide here. So real quick, this is very, very important. We're also going to include this in the thank you email. The reason why, we have a COVID-19 folder, okay, and this allows you to keep your finger on the pulse to know what's going on with all of the carriers in the underwriting departments with COVID. Lots of changes, updates, and now we're seeing a lot of underwriting departments, right? And the chief of underwriting at Lincoln just sent an email. They lifted their table shave program, okay, is now available again. So they lifted restrictions. We're seeing AIG went back to normal with all of the COVID restrictions. That's huge. What that means is you can go back and all of those cases that were postponed because of COVID, or maybe they were outside of the max age range, right? Because remember, they reduced the issue age. So go back now and send those apps back in, because now they're going to treat them just like as if it was 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, so you need to know what's going on. So when you're talking to your clients, you sound intelligent and you're giving correct, accurate information. Very simple. Okay, we're going to include the COVID-19 folder in today's thank you email. Every participant will receive this. If you don't get our thank you email before the day's up, let us know. It's either in your spam folder or we have your wrong email address. So please call us. Let us know if you don't get it. Okay, let's dive into our featured presentation with Miss Carlin Snipes from Pacific Life, who's a friend of mine now for many, many years. And once again, they're bringing the thunder, and we're the first IMO to roll this out with Carlin and her team. Carlin, you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much for that introduction. I'd love to reinforce what you just said about the COVID guidelines changing. I just pulled up the bulletin while you were talking because ours changed about end of April, excuse me. And you'll see if you had any apps that were submitted that were declined due to COVID guidelines, please send us an email or send Bill's team an email to let us know to look at reopening those cases, because now up to age 65, we'll take through Table H. 66 to 70 through Table D, and then 70 to 80 standard or better rate classes. So if you have any apps that were declined due to our COVID guidelines, please reach out to Bill and his team and let us know so we can open those cases up and take a look and see if we can reconsider those cases for you. The other thing I'd love to reinforce, Bill, you said today is never a better time to sell life insurance. I mean, the clients, the consumers out there are looking into it. The Google searches for life insurance dramatically went up last year because people were at home, had the time, were worried about it, started thinking about it. What kind of life insurance do I have? What would happen to my family should I pass away? So we have huge opportunities out there, and a lot of people are underinsured if they have life insurance, and there's a lot of people, over 50% of the population doesn't have insurance. So it's a huge, huge opportunity for us. So I want to spend a little bit of time giving you an update on Swift Sailing. As Bill said, this is our new accelerated underwriting program that's launching on Monday, and you guys are going to get a sneak peek at what's coming. So let's get into it. So what I'm going to touch base on, just to give you a brief introduction of what Pacific Life Swift Sailing is. I'm going to show you an underwriting comparison to what we currently have available for you from an underwriting program to what Swift Sailing is going to give you the ropes, how it works, all the tools and resources. And if you have any questions or answering any questions throughout, just pop them in the chat box, as Bill said. So let's get into Swift Sailing, our accelerated underwriting program. So we're late to the game with this. There's a lot of carriers that came out with an accelerated program prior to us. The good thing for us is it gives us this huge rearview mirror to look back to see, okay, what's happening out there? What can we do differently than what other carriers have done with their accelerated programs? So what you're going to see with our program, it does provide a broader eligibility to consumers. As Bill mentioned, we do go out to the standard rate class or better, where a lot of other carriers, it's got to be preferred or better to be considered for their accelerated programs. We're really focused on improving the decision time, and we're going to make sure throughout the process that there's statusing going out so you know what's happening with your client throughout the process. And we want to provide, one of the things we heard from the field when we started this program was to make sure, if we roll out an accelerated program, to make it very transparent. Don't come back to Bill and say, Bill, this client was declined, but I can't tell you why, because it was a credit score or something like that, and I can't tell you why they were declined. We're not doing that with this program. We're going to be able to tell you the top 5 reasons. If your client does not qualify for accelerated underwriting, it's going to be very, very transparent and easily communicated to you. As Bill mentioned, this is a program where we're not going to require a medical exam. There'll be no blood draw, no bodily fluids, or an attending physician statement. So it's a really, really smooth process, as you can see with that sailboat sliding through the water there. So this is the details of the program. So up to $2 million in coverage. It's available for clients up to age 60. As I mentioned, standard or better rate class. That includes no nicotine and nicotine use. To access the Swift Sailing Accelerated Underwriting Program at launch, you have to use an electronic ticket. We won't be looking at long applications for the Accelerated Underwriting Program. And at launch, it will only be available for the Promise Term product. Down the road, we will be opening this program up to the long application as well as to the GUL policy. But at launch on May 17th, it'll just be for the term, and you have to submit an electronic ticket to to be considered for the accelerated underwriting program. So if you're not set up for that, get with Bill and his team and make sure that you're set up to use the drop ticket process so you can access that accelerated underwriting program. So we do have, and I'll make sure that Bill has it to provide with you in the thank you email, we do have a pre-qualifying checklist that you can use to easily identify which of your clients will qualify for our program. It really gives you a lot of good information. So if you're using that pre-qualifying checklist, you'll know out the gate, this client's going to qualify or this client doesn't qualify. Now, something that's coming soon that I'm really, really excited about is we will be offering an online health history, which is an option for the client to use instead of doing a telephone interview, because at launch for our accelerated underwriting program, it's going to have to be a telephone interview, do the electronic ticket. But down the road, a couple months out, we're going to actually offer an option where the client can do an online health history where they'll receive a link and they can complete that information online themselves at their leisure, right? They don't have to worry about setting up an interview with someone to call them and having to go through an interview process with a stranger that they don't know. They can go online and do the process. It's easier and shorter than the telephone interview. Right now, our telephone interview averages anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the number of impairments the client has. Also, depending on how prepared the client is for the call, because if they don't have their medical information together, like what prescriptions they're taking or what their doctors are, they're having to run around and pick it up. Whereas with the online health history, they have the time to stop when they're doing it and they can go and get their prescription and input that information. So that process is only going to take about 20 to 30 minutes. It is shorter than the telephone interview, and it will be having fewer reflexive questions, which we got a lot of complaints around the reflexive questions because the clients were getting a little bit annoyed with that. So we wanted to really lessen that through the process. It's going to be really convenient because what will happen is you could be on the phone with your client, dropping the ticket on the client, and within minutes, the online health history link will appear in their email box. So you can stay on the phone with them to make sure they received it and walk them through the process. So it's going to be really, really convenient for the client. Now, if you do the online health history with one of your consumers in the future, what will happen is we will automatically send out reminder emails to get them to complete that online health history if they haven't done it. And if they don't do it within a 7-day period, what we'll automatically do is start reaching out proactively to them to do the telephone interview. That doesn't take away the option that they could do the online health history, but we want to make sure that client is not, slipping away from us. We want to make sure one way or the other we're going to get that completed for them. There will be a direct line to support the clients when they're going through the process. If they have any questions when they're on that online health history, they can, pick up the phone and call us, and we'll walk them through that. Now, if the client does not qualify for AU or the Swift Sailing program, and they're doing the online health history, or they're doing the telephone interview, what will happen at the end of the telephone interview or at the end of the online health history, automatically an option will come up to schedule their paramedical exam, because we want to keep it rolling. We don't want to stop the process. So if they don't qualify, we'll automatically move them to the next step in the road. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a few slides down in a minute. So I mentioned earlier, it's going to be very transparent. We want to make it very predictable for you. If you're using that pre-qualification checklist, it will be extremely predictable for you. We want to determine if they qualify, for most cases, during that phone health history. So while they're on the phone, we want to know during that call, do they qualify, do they not qualify? We're going to be at launch making sure as much as possible, trying to keep people into that AU platform, assuming they're between the ages of 18 and 60. They're a standard or better rate class, and it's $2 million or less. We're going to try to push as much of that business through that accelerated underwriting platform as we can. So what you'll see with our program is we do have, and I don't know if you've experienced this in the past, we do have supplemental health questionnaires that our underwriters use to try to avoid getting an APS. We're going to actually add that to the accelerated underwriting process. So if there's a client where we have questions maybe around depression, let's say, we can shoot them an email with a questionnaire instead of trying to go out and get an APS. And if they can satisfy what we need with that questionnaire, they'll stay in the accelerated underwriting path. They won't be moved over to traditional underwriting where we require an APS. Now, if the client, again, does not qualify for the accelerated underwriting, we will share that information. Now, we will have random holdouts in the process. At launch, it will be 10%. Now, that will go down over time. So 1 out of 10 people won't qualify for accelerated underwriting with us, not because health-wise they don't qualify, just because it's a random holdout. Again, we'll be very upfront and tell you when that happens, but keep in mind that number will go down over time. It won't stay at 10%. This is a new platform for us, so there's a little bit of testing in the front end to make sure it's working correctly. The underwriters are watching it very closely to make sure everything's working the way it needs to. Now, if they don't qualify for preferred best non-nicotine, again, we'll provide the top adverse reasons why that client didn't get our best rate class. And I mentioned earlier, there will be statuses throughout the process to let you know what's happening. Is the client still in accelerated underwriting, or have we moved them to traditional, or have we moved them to smooth sailing? Now, if you've done smooth sailing with us in the past, you'll realize there is a crossover between these two programs. Swift sailing is 18 to 60, whereas smooth sailing is 50 to 69. So between 50 and 60, they could qualify for either or program. So if we start out, we're going to start out looking at them for accelerated, where they won't have to do a paramedical exam and we won't require an APS. But if it looks like they're not going to qualify for accelerated, let's say your client's 55 and they're not going to qualify for swift sailing, we're automatically going to move them over to the smooth sailing path. You won't have to do anything. We're going to try to keep them fluidless if at all possible. So we're going to see if this client qualifies for the smooth sailing program, where we will require an APS, but we will not require fluids. So keep them fluidless as much as possible. Now, right now, the programs are a little bit different because smooth sailing only goes up to $1 million. So not everyone that we're considering for accelerated at age 55, if you had a client that was age 55 and applied for $2 million, they wouldn't qualify for smooth sailing. In the future, we are looking at making some changes to smooth sailing to tighten it up, to make it more alike. So we are looking at upping that to $2 million. So what you see on the screen here is our swift sailing program on the left and our smooth sailing program on the right. Swift sailing is true 100% accelerated underwriting, fluidless with no APS, whereas smooth sailing is fluidless, but it's not accelerated because we are requiring an APS. Issue ages are different. Obviously, swift sailing today goes down to 18, will go up to 60. Smooth sailing is 50 to 69. Another change we're looking at making with smooth sailing is actually making it go down to 18 to make it match up more evenly with swift sailing. So more to come down the road with that. Swift sailing again goes up to $2 million. Smooth sailing goes up to $1 million. Now that $1 million number there and that $2 million is in force or applied for with Pacific Life. So if your client had $1 million policy with us already, we couldn't look at them for smooth sailing. We could look at them for swift sailing up to $2 million minus that $1 million. So we could look to them for $1 million with the swift sailing program. Again, swift sailing, no labs, exams, no attending physician statements. Smooth sailing, no fluids, but we will require that APS to make that offer. Swift sailing goes to a rate class of standard or better, nicotine or non-nicotine, whereas smooth sailing goes up to table 4. You'll see an asterisk. That's actually changing with our COVID guidelines changing. Now it'll go up to table H, as I showed you with that. They need to update this presentation. I just realized that. It'll go to table H now because up to age 65, table H, because we make a change to that guidelines. Once they get rid of all the COVID restrictions, it'll go out to table 16. Smooth sailing has no restrictions when it comes to table classes normally. Right now we have restrictions due to COVID. Now with swift sailing at launch, you have to do an electronic ticket to be considered for accelerated underwriting. With smooth sailing, you can do electronic ticket or a paper application. Again, with swift sailing, what we're going to be doing during the whole process is we're going to be pulling from data sources like MIB, like RX history, things like that to make the offer, because we're not going after an APS and we're not going after fluids or that paramedical exam. With smooth sailing, it's really totally traditional underwriting because we are going after an APS to make the decision on the client. Because the way smooth sailing works, and I didn't click on this, the client has to have a physical with blood work within the last 18 months to qualify for smooth sailing. Because what we're doing is we're going to that APS to get all that information that we normally would get through an exam. We're going to get that from the APS. That's why we're avoiding those fluids with that program. And I'll make sure Bill has this piece as well. There's a piece that shows just basically exactly this information. I'll make sure you have that as well to send out with the thank you. So just so you know, the proof is in the pudding when it comes to smooth sailing. We have over 16,000 policies on the books with smooth sailing, and our pass-through rate with smooth sailing is 90%. So 9 out of 10 people that qualify for smooth sailing based on age and face amount, and they've seen their doctor in the last 18 months and had blood work, they're qualifying for smooth sailing. So we're not going back and saying, hey, we need fluids. We're just going after the APS on those smooth sailing cases. Just real quick, I just want to show you, just to remind you of our underwriting sweet spots. I'm not going to go through every one of these, but I really want to point out build. Build do standard. There's probably not a carrier out there that can beat us on build. I'm 5'7", I can weigh 195 pounds and be preferred best. And I don't know if I think I told Bill this the last time, if I don't get on the road again, I feel like I'm going to weigh 195 pounds. But very, very, very aggressive build chart do standard. If you've got a client with a build issue, you definitely should be looking at us for that, because we, again, very competitive through standard. Aviation, no flat extra up to 150. If they're flying up to 150 hours annually for pleasure only, they can qualify. Excuse me. If they have their instrument flight rating and they're flying up to 150 hours annually, they can qualify for preferred with no flat extra. So I can give you a lot more information, but I know we don't have a lot of time on that, but we can get you the sweet spot piece if you're interested in that and get you more information on each of these impairments. I mentioned earlier I was going to show you the process. So this is just a high-level process map of how this is going to work. So on Monday, you drop a ticket, the telephone interview, we're going to schedule the telephone interview with the client. We have the telephone interview. We're going to query these data sources that I mentioned during the telephone interview and make the determination, does the client qualify for smooth sailing? Excuse me, swift sailing. If they don't qualify for swift sailing and they're between the ages of 50 and 60, we'll automatically go down to that bottom box and assess, would this client qualify for smooth sailing? If they don't qualify for smooth sailing, then what we're going to do is set up the labs and exam at the time of the interview. We're going to schedule that at the time of the interview. Now, if they do qualify for smooth sailing, what will happen is we'll order the APS and then make that underwriting offer. With swift sailing, if they qualify for accelerated underwriting, you're going to get an underwriting decision. And if you're set up for e-delivery, we can e-deliver the policy. So this could be a totally touchless process from beginning to end, where you're not going to get in front of the client at all because you're dropping a ticket at the very beginning and you're emailing the policy at the very end. So it's a very, very smooth process. So the things we're looking at, initially all decisions are going to be reviewed by an underwriter. That's why you're going to see our target decision is going to be between 4 and 7 days. Now, we've been in a pilot process before this for the last month and a half, I'll say. I've seen cases that were approved in 2 days. I've seen cases that took as long as 7. It's after what's the delay right now is getting that telephone interview set up. As quick as we can get that set up, it's going to help with that cycle time. But once that interview is completed, it's going to be 4 to 7 days for a decision. And the reason that 4 to 7 days is happening at launch is every case is going to be touched by an underwriter initially, again, to see if we can keep them in the AU program. As I mentioned, if we can go out and get that supplemental health questionnaire instead of pushing that client out and requiring an APS, we're trying to keep as many people in the AU path as possible. We are using a model to generate our underwriting decisions for the Swift Sailing program. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll make sure we always provide the top 5 reasons if your client doesn't qualify for preferred best. So some of future enhancements you'll see with this program, as I mentioned earlier, the online health history, that's going to be coming soon. I'm really, really excited about that. I think if we can give consumers options where they don't have to do a telephone interview with a stranger and they can do it in their house on their computer, I think that's a huge, huge option and takes half the time, less than half the time to complete. We are going to be looking at making enhancements to our telephone interview process. As I mentioned, we're going to look at what we're doing with online health history. Can we use less reflexive questions with that telephone interview process and make that a shorter process? Because there are consumers out there that maybe don't want to do it online. They'd rather do it over the phone. So we want to make sure we have both these options for the clients out there. They can either do the online health history or the telephone interview process. We're also looking at providing instant decisioning. That's become a very, very hot topic out there in our world, and we want to get there along with all the other carriers that are doing it. So that's something that's on our mind and top of mind, and we're working on that as well. The last bullet there, I think, is one of the exciting bullets, because I don't know about you, but I'm quicker to respond to a text than an email. So the thought process is here. Instead of emailing the consumer that link, we could text them that link and they'll get it that much quicker. Because, if you're like me, you have your phone always nearby. I feel like I sleep with my phone. So somebody's texting you. You've got that information. So I'm really excited about when we'll be able to launch texting as a feature for this program. Just real high level, some tools and resources that are available to you. Obviously, I've mentioned the drop ticket. If you're not set up, don't know how to use a drop ticket or haven't used a drop ticket in the past, please get with Bill and his team. You need drop ticket to access the Swift Sailing program at launch on Monday, May 17th. I've already mentioned that online health history, it's coming. If you've got a book of business with us today, please make sure you're using the Producer Bay website. It provides a lot of information to you. You can look at things like, when there's a statusing out there from the underwriter or the case manager or things like that. What I think is huge about Producer Bay is actually that last bullet point about in-force management. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes around data mining with conversions, the opportunities there, because there's a lot of good information out there on our Producer Bay website. Lastly, if you're not doing business with Pacific Life, I highly recommend that you do. We're over 150 years old, and if you didn't realize it, we are a mutual company, so we're committed to the best interests of our policyholders, and that's really important. As you see last year, a lot of carriers were going in and out of the marketplace. They were making changes because they were committed to increasing shareholder value because they were a stock company. We're not a stock company. We take a long-term approach about making changes. We want to make sure we're doing the right thing for our policyholders. So what I always say is when you're considering buying from a carrier or a company out there, look to the other carriers. How did the other consumers get treated with that carrier? What happened with them? So make sure they're doing the right thing by their policyholders. We do have a history of innovation with best-in-class service. We're really focused on those e-capabilities. We want to drive speed and low touch, so you're not having to touch these applications. You're not having to, if you can do it electronically, we want to make sure you can do as much as possible electronically with us. The only other thing I'll point out here is that bottom bullet on the right-hand side. This is the 3rd year in a row Pacific Life has been named one of the world's most ethical companies. And this is across 75 different industries. This is not just financial services. That's something we're extremely proud of. I'll pause for a second before I switch presentations. Are there any questions on the Swift Sailing in the chat box, Andrew or Bill?
Andrew, I think, do we have anything showing up right now?
Yep, we had one question if you want to quickly answer it.
Yes.
We have an agent asking at what point do they get an indication that the policy may not qualify for either non-med or that it may be declined? Can you stop the process from it being denied so it doesn't hit the client's MIB that they have a declination on their record?
So with AU, that if they get removed from Swift Sailing, so they don't qualify for Swift Sailing, that doesn't mean they're declined. That just means they don't meet our requirements to go through our accelerated process with no exams and no fluids. So what he's asking, or she's asking, is if they go from Swift Sailing to, let's say, traditional underwriting, and we're going through that path, and it's going to be a decline, can you withdraw the application before the decline is processed so the decline doesn't hit the MIB? Am I summarizing that correctly, Andrew?
That's correct.
Yeah, you could, but you'd have to be really on top of the policy to know before the underwriter makes the decision. So if you're in a situation like that, if you're afraid that that particular client's going to be declined before they get to the final offer, I would request a tentative offer to say, hey, based on what you have, what's the tentative offer look like? Because I need to make a decision. If it's looking like a decline, I need to withdraw this because I don't want it to hit their MIB.
Excellent. That works.
And I know, Bill, I think we're supposed to stop at 3:40. So if I need to stop, tell me because I won't jump into this. We can save it for another time if need be.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's we can run till about another 7 minutes, so we're fine.
Okay. This one won't take very long. I just want to make sure anybody that's doing business with us today, if you've sold any PL Promise term business, I want to make sure you're aware of the data man opportunities out there when it comes to producer bay. So that's what this presentation is about. So if you're not familiar with it, we do have a PL Promise conversion UL policy. It's a no lapse guarantee policy. It does have competitive premiums. It's not like a conversion-only policy by other term-focused carriers. It's very much competitive against new sale products out there that a client would have to be fully underwritten to qualify for. It does have a return of premium feature built into it. You have to guarantee the policy to age 100 to get that return of premium feature. You can dial this policy down to 85 or take it out to 121, and we do allow partial conversions. But what I want to get to is this section. So we have a very different approach when it comes to conversions. We have an early, mid, and late term approach to conversions. And what this approach allows us to do is to pay you up to 150% of normal compensation if it's an early term conversion. I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. Also, another thing that we're doing that's very different when it comes to conversions is we're actively marketing to the consumer to drive them back to you as their agent to have a conversation about conversions. Because you sold them that term policy maybe because that was what they could afford at the time, but maybe 2 years or 3 years have gone down the road. They've got a promotion at work, they had a baby, they bought a house, as Bill mentioned earlier, they need more insurance. So maybe the opportunity is to have a conversation about a permanent solution versus a term solution. So this is the most important slide I wanted to show you regarding our conversion program. So if you sold let's say you sold a PL Promise Term 20, that is our #1 selling duration when it comes to our PL Promise product. So if you sold a Term 20, years 1 through 9 are considered an early term conversion. So if you convert that policy anywhere between after the first 12 months through year 9, you can get 150% of your normal compensation. May I repeat that? You can get 150% of your normal compensation if you convert that policy, and it potentially could be the best thing for the client because maybe they couldn't afford the permanent solution at that time when you sold them product, but now they can, so you can get them on that permanent path. Now, on that same scenario, if you don't convert until year 10 through 15, that's considered a midterm conversion. You'll get 100% of normal compensation. So you'll still get your normal compensation, but you'll lose that nice little bonus you would have gotten if you'd have converted it in, say, year 9. In both of those scenarios, the consumer is going to get our cheapest premiums, our most competitive premiums. The last scenario for the late term conversion, years 16 to 20, that's considered a late term conversion. We're going to cut your compensation in half by 50%, and the consumer is going to pay higher premiums, not just because they're older, but because the pricing structure is different for late term conversions. So if you ever look at WinFlex and you're looking at this policy, you'll see early conversion pricing and late conversion pricing. The good news, if you saw if any 20-year terms are on the book, we haven't had policies on the books over 4 years. Well, over 4 years is the oldest policy. I think 2016 was the first policy that we put on the books, November of 2016. So it just turned 4 years last year. And you can see with the PL Promise term 10, years 1 through 4 are the early term conversion. So real quickly, I know we're running out of time. This is just a snapshot of what Producer Bay looks like. You can actually go out there and run a book of business of all your in-force book of business with us, and it will give you the conversion expiration date of your policies that are in force. So you know when that's coming up from Producer Bay. You can get that information. This piece here, excuse me, I'm getting so excited, I'm losing my voice. This piece here is just a section of our policy review about having the conversation with your clients. Is the term solution the right solution, and should they be looking at the permanent solution? This page just shows you all the materials we have to have that conversation with your consumers. We have a lot of policy review information out there for you to use. And that is it, Bill. Any questions on that section?
Nope, I think we are good to go. If we didn't answer your questions, by the way, just because we're running a little behind, I promise, like I said earlier, we'll get to every single one that came in. So I promise you that we'll do it today. Okay, good stuff. Carlin, as always, that was awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for making us your number one, the first platform, right, for you to launch this on. So thank you for that. Okay, let's jump right in. We have a few more slides here, and then we're going to have our question of the day. So I wanted Andrew to take a minute, right, and show everyone. Obviously, Pac Life has an amazing program. Okay, it's not for every single client and every face amount. So we do have other niche non-med options. So Andrew's going to point these out right now, and this is where your pen and paper or notes app, right, should be out and ready. All right, Andrew Paris, you want to take it from here?
Yes, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. An excellent presentation by Carlin, as always. I want to show everybody access to our number one, I think it's the industry's number one non-med sales platform. We have the most extensive back office platform for any and all non-med products. We have over 20 plus different carriers just in, let's say, term and UL. We have another 20 plus carriers in final expense. So we have compiled all of these carriers that do all these different things to put you and your client in the best position, right? So if you look here, I put a screenshot as to how you can access this information. So you can go to the products tab of our website, click on simplified issue non-med plans. It'll pull up the chart that you're looking at, as well as all of the sales and marketing material for each of these carriers. The underwriting guidelines, like smooth sale we were just talking about, you know, everything that you need to learn about how those non-med processes work. What I really wanted to show you guys is a peek behind the curtain and what we do every day to come up with exciting products that you can sell to your clients. And that's on the left side there where it says niches. So I wanted to quickly go over some of this stuff. And I know that a lot of you already rely on us and call it to our marketing team, which we absolutely appreciate, but I just wanted to leave you with this information. So number one is that Pacific Life program that Carlin just talked about. Most carriers don't do non-med up to age 69, especially not up to $1 million or more. So now you're going to be able to do what Carlin just said for a 69-year-old individual and not have to take an exam, as long as they've been to their physician for a physical in the last 18 months. I mean, that's a pretty big game changer. So always have that in your back pocket, that the older client, 69 years old or less, can go for a larger multi-million-dollar policy. Also, number two, non-med term up to age 75. This is a really best-kept secret until now, of course, and that's American Amicable has the Term Made Simple product. We do a lot of business with American Amicable. It includes living benefits for chronic illness. It is non-med up to 75 years old. There's no catch, okay? If you're 75, you can buy a non-med term. It's up to $400,000. All right, number 3, instant issue. Bill already talked about this earlier, so I won't spend much time here, but this is the Bestow product that's being launched on Insure Me Now Direct. I wanted to quickly mention, everybody, that if you're a P&C agent, or if you're a health shop, or if you're, let's say, an agency that does 60, 70%, health insurance or another line of business, you could use this Bestow product to sell instant issue term with very little involvement by you, no involvement. I actually have a lot of P&C agencies that I talk to that have already integrated this into their practice and seen a huge increase in sales volume for life insurance because of how easy it is to get apps, decisions, and policies issued. Number 4, no exams up to 7.5 million with Penn Mutual. That's for joint plans. It's up to 5 million for individual. That is by far the largest limit out there right now, and Penn Mutual's the top participating whole life carrier. They're a mutual company. They also do term and universal life insurance as well, but they have the ACE program, which allows you to go through without an exam for very, very large face amounts. So that's great for your estate planning, your wealthier applicant. Number 5, simplified issue premium finance with Allianz and LSW. I want to mention our Kaizen program, which is the simplified issue premium finance for people making over $100,000 a year and up to $1 million or more in net worth. We're seeing a huge uptick in business there, and that's non-medical. Okay, so there's no exam. Allianz and LSW do multi-million. I believe it's up to 3 million, no exam for an IUL. Okay, so that is a program you should be talking to your clients about. If you have any doctors, attorneys, people who are coming up in the business owners who are starting to make more income, as long as they're in the 6 figures and they have $1 million in net worth, we can have the discussion. And this is bringing premiums average of 60 to 80,000 a year. That could change your business. Last up is guaranteed issue, ages 18 to 70, up to 100,000. That's with Boston Mutual. We just launched this. We're one of the first IMOs to get this product, and we're very happy. We've done a lot of business with them so far. The only knockout question is, do you work 20 hours a week? Yes or no. If you're working, you qualify for this product. There's no waiting period. 0. Okay, there's no 2-year wait like Gerber or AIG or any of those other guaranteed issue products. So these are some niche products that you should heavily consider using with Levinson. If you are not with Levinson, but you have contracts outside of us, no problem. Give us a call, and our marketing team will get you moved over, and we'll get you that bonus that Bill talked about. Also, real quick, I want to talk about Insure Me Now Direct. Major updates coming soon. We talked about that. Bestow is the latest. We also have a final expense carrier we're working with that's going to be launching in hopefully in the next few months. But we are making a conscious effort to really change the game for our agents, right? This technology is out there, whether we like it or not, but we had the foresight to come up with something that you can use to, recruit, develop more business, have people purchase while they're not, sell while you're sleeping, right? Where it's 2 a.m., as Bill said. We need this technology in our corner because it's out there, whether we believe it or not. So now you have the technology, and it's absolutely complimentary to you as a Levinson agent. I'll put the links in our thank you email so you can sign up for Insure Me Now Direct. On the right-hand side, I just wanted to put some ways that you can use Insure Me Now Direct to drive more business, drive traffic. Think of ways to get creative and come up with more opportunities, right? We have a lot of agents out there that are using Insure Me Now Direct, and I'm getting a lot of great feedback, specifically where you co-brand your site for another, let's say, mortgage company. Bill just mentioned that mortgages are at an all-time high. The rates are lower, sales are off the charts. Well, what better? Why don't you contact any mortgage broker that you know or any banks and say, listen, we'll co-brand this for you for mortgage protection. This is a no-brainer. It gets you more business and more exposure. So definitely check out these and write these down so you can utilize this for your practice. Last up for me real quick is our final expense experience. We developed this for all things final expense. And as we know, final expense is also simplified non-medical, so I wanted to take some time to discuss it. We have a brand new quoting tool, which is on the right-hand side, which shows you how to analyze somebody's health, get real-time rates. It just makes your life so much easier. It's mobile compatible as well. On the left-hand side, you'll see I put some niches for final expense as well, just something to leave you with so you can think about what we have to offer for your client. So we have products with issue ages up to 90. We have products that don't ask for build or height and weight. We have instant decision voice signature products. We also have power of attorney signatures accepted. That's with Great Western. Many of you are familiar with that. We can appoint you there. And alternative GI plans with 1-year waiting period. That's our newest carrier, GTL. So that's Guaranteed Trust Life, has a 1-year wait. That's a unique niche that you can use to maybe beat out an agent that's selling a Gerber, an AIG, or another guaranteed 2-year wait. Okay, so I'm going to get it over to Bill, and he's going to discuss a new podcast we just recorded. Bill?
Okay, good stuff, Andrew. So I know lots and lots of information here and in a short time, but I feel like we have to make sure we cover everything so every agent walks away with a nugget, right? We want you to learn. So that's the name of the game. 1%, right? They say 1% every single day. That leads to success, okay? No brainer. All right, so this was a podcast I recorded yesterday, okay? And it's very, very different from the prior podcast episodes that I've recorded. I think that you all will love this, and here's the reason why. So Alex, first of all, has an unbelievable story. Young guy, okay, just turned 29 years old, and had a health scare where he literally wasn't going to make it another day. And he came out of it and he got licensed. He was in the insurance business, decided to start an agency. And what's unique, so there are Levinson and Associates, MGA, GA of ours, let's call it. And he wanted to bring a different value add where he wants to be involved in 100% hands-on training with their agents, okay? So he is a telesales expert, okay, even pre-COVID-19. So he's got a team, Norm Johnson, who was in the NFL. I had his podcast launched last month. So it's Alex, Norm, and Kevin all work together. They have an agency called Legacy Life. So anyway, I interviewed him for an hour, and we spoke about him growing up, having this health scare, him how he wound up in the life insurance business, and then this hands-on training model that is great for some newer agents, maybe younger agents, maybe some agents that need direction or help when it comes to selling online and over the phone. So really, really cool concept. I think that you all will love it. And here's, in fact, Andrew, jot this down. Let's get this edited and sent out by Monday the latest. I want everyone to check this out. I think that you'll love it. If you leave a comment on any of our podcast channels, or you can obviously watch this on YouTube or listen to it on YouTube, leave a comment and I'll send you the IUL book on us. Okay, that's part of the Stonewood IUL sales platform. So no problem at all, but I want you to listen, please. And I want to hear back from you. Let me know if you liked it, if you hated it, whatever the case is. I want to hear from you. Okay. We have our training events calendar. So this is our second to last slide. We're almost done, by the way. I know we're ranting a little. So real quick, if you want to take advantage of any of our technology platforms, Agency Automator, we have the annuity version, our CRM, the free website builder, virtual assistant platform. We do these trainings every day at 2 p.m. A lot of agents said, oh, I didn't know you have these for free. Yeah, every single day, 2 p.m. Kevin, our programmer, will host these. On the bottom, that's our weekly training series, which is what you're on now. So the first one, now this is big. So annuity sales in the industry, okay, are at an all-time high starting January 2021. So they are taking off. We bring in here the top annuity consultant, Chris, is joining us on the 20th. So we dive into what's hot, what's not, everything that has to do with annuities for 1 hour. That's going to be a big one. Now on the bottom, okay, I was just talking about the Stonewood IUL sales platform. So we made a bunch of changes, enhancements. We have a new select program I think you all will love. And again, if you want the IUL prospecting book, just leave a comment on the podcast channel and I send it out for free on me. Okay, last slide here in our Positive Tuesday quote and our question of the day. I hope everyone's listening. They have their little fingers on their keyboard ready to answer first. Okay, but before I ask the question, I'm going to look at the quote, left-hand side. Remember, perfection isn't reality, but 1% gains every day equals 100% success. Okay, so you just had your 1% gain today, right, by listening to us for the last hour, right, because you gained some knowledge, right, that'll help you in your everyday sales. It's like moving the needle every single day, no matter what. Alex says it on the podcast. He says, Bill, you know, I'm no rock star, superstar. He goes, the only difference is I show up every single day, and I give 110% no matter what. And that's what life's about, business and personal. Okay, be transparent, be you, be authentic, and keep your right foot on the gas at all times, and you'll be successful, okay, on both sides of the fence. Question of the day. Whoever answers first wins, so it's a two-part question. Now, our cash for contracting contest, incentive, we'll call it, okay? What I need to know from you is two parts. Number one, how many carriers do you have to move over to Levinson to get the $500 bonus? Tell me, how many carriers and how many apps do you have to write to get the $500 cash bonus? Okay, cash for contracting. If you move your contracts over to Levinson, as soon as you write business, you get paid green cash. Tell me how many carriers you have to move over and how many apps you have to write to get the $500 cash bonus. Andrew, do we have a winner?
Yes, we do. We have a winner. It is Scott M, as in Mary. Scott M.
Scott M, congrats. The answer is 3 carriers, 3 new apps. With those 3 carriers, $500 cash. Or move one company, write one app, you get $100 right off the bat. Boom. So make sure you take advantage. Have a wonderful Thursday, a great rest of the week, a good weekend, great selling. Thank you so much for taking the time. Congrats, Scott K. Take care. Good luck. We'll talk to you next week.